Yeah, it's me, Admiral. Back here with Apollo Justice Ace Attorney, where we are currently in the most mind-blowing flashback. I'm so excited to see where this all turns out. Oh my gosh, I'm also a bit behind on my editing. So the last video I edited was this 20-second part. So there may be a lot of stuff, because whenever I go back and edit it, I always get like a better understanding of what's going on because I'm not in the moment trying to like process it quickly. So there may be stuff that I don't understand from episodes 23 and 24 yet. There's been a lot of stuff that's been like tripping me up here and there, but I think I'm starting to slowly get a hold on it, especially now that we've got this excellent flashback with which we can clarify everything. So let's not spend any time messing around. Gotta clear my throat. Sorry. Let's spend no more time messing around. Let's get right into this, back into this thing when we've just done some point, I assume, because this triumphant music is playing. And I haven't proven anything yet beyond my good looks and startling record sales. An utter lack of humility. What's this? It seems that the prosecution has another witness prepared. Is that right? Like I said, Hail Detective was just the warm-up act. Now that the audience has gotten a taste of what's to come, they're ready. Ready for what? For my decisive witness, of course. A witness who, you will find, can prove one thing for us. Push! That it was Zach Gremery who shot the victim in the forehead. Well, I'd like to see this witness. Sorry, Gumshoe. I would have liked to talk with you a bit longer, but that's the way of things. Very well. We'll pause for a 15-minute recess. Alrighty then. This might be my lucky break. I'll need that 15 minutes to talk to my client. Court is adjourned. Venus is a little more cocky confident than... Oh, well, I didn't think we'd be hitting a to be continued that fast. A little more cocky confident than he was even in the third game. And this is supposed to be like right after the third game, if I didn't misunderstand. So I'm guessing we're going to find some huge revelation in this trial. And then what's going to happen is we're going to jump back to present day and it's going to be like just one more trial session or something like that. Or maybe one more investigation even. Like we might have to go back and investigate that hospital that this all took place in, who even knows? Or maybe where the trick was performed, where someone got shot. Because I think that happened, we saw that in the intro. Anyways, April 19th, 11:21 a.m., District Court Defendant Lobby number 2. Very impressive, Mr. Wright. I have to say I expected nothing less. We've only just begun. I was hoping you could tell me a bit more about what happened, actually. I did not think you would believe me if I told you. Better that you discovered the truth for yourself. I was thinking of you, you know. I think we need less thinking and more talking. That night in the hospital... Oh, sorry, that was Phoenix. That night in the hospital, what really happened? The way your eyes gleam, Mr. Wright. You'll scare Trucy. Speaking of which, where is she? You have seen the problem. Yourself. The letter. I don't think that was supposed to lag for that long. The one shot in the forehead. One, right? Yes, and the reason he speaks of. I could not deny my mentor's wishes, even if it meant my own death. Why not? This is something I will not say. For now, at least. What's this for now business? I have done many things in my life, some well, some poorly. But this is a cross we must bear alone to our graves. We? You wanted to know about the night of the incident. Finally. This guy sure likes to take his time getting to the important stuff. Of course, I had no intention of shooting my mentor. I snuck into his room that night at the appointed time, and found there upon his bedside table 2 pistols. Oh, weird. 1 shot each, right? 2. Yes, the one I had used on stage, and the one that had been used by my partner, Valent. Oh, for the Zack and Valent's quick draw thing. Interesting. 2 pistols. Okay, so one obviously wasn't there, so that's curious. I'm guessing you shot one and took it away, maybe? Oh no, although... Yeah, I don't know. My mentor had the look of one sleeping. I stood by his bedside, hearing only the light sound of his breathing. Then I took the pistol into my hand. I cannot deny that my resolve faltered then, for a moment. You faltered? You mean you thought about shooting him? Recall, there was a reason I could not refuse his request. His last such request, though not his first. So there were other requests he couldn't refuse before. To be honest, I've not always been steadfast, and I fear I've brought pain upon Trucy. Was Magnifique coercing his disciples somehow? Just what was going on in Troop Gremery? Yet, in the end, I did not shoot him. Instead, I turned and shot the clown. I took the pistol I had fired and placed it into my pocket. In your pocket? I believe if you examine the bullet in the clown's head, you will find it to be different than the one in my mentor. What were those called? The rifling marks? Rifling marks. Yes, well, that is all I have to tell you. Concerning the case. Concerning the case? You mean there's something else you can tell me? You are a fascinating man, Mr. Wright. Thanks. Yes, there is something. My mentor, his eyes opened. What? Magnifique Gramarye. The old devil? He was not asleep, you see. Of course, the gunshot would have woken him anyway. And there we had our last discussion as mentor and pupil. It was not a long discussion. Maybe 5-10 minutes or so. Well, it had to be because the other person was coming back at 9:30, right? Or 11:30, sorry. What did you talk about? Ha ha! Mr. Wright! Did I not just tell you? It does not concern this case. Zach Gramarye. He seems pretty steadfast to me. Or maybe just stubborn. Mr. Wright, your presence is requested in the courtroom. Once again, I am in your hands. Right. Let's get back in there. Let's. April 19th, 11:37 a.m. District Court, courtroom number 7. All right. No harm, no foul. I love this song, this like before court song. It's so calming to me compared to the other ones. Especially the second games. The second games are so stressful. Court is now back in session. During our recess, a bullet was found in and dug out of from the clown's head. Well, this is news. And the rifling marks? All right, because that's what we had requested they go check out the scene for the clown before we left. That's what it was. It wasn't time to do a detailed analysis. They did find the weapon type matches the murder weapon. Not the right gun, though. Well, that's not very conclusive, is it? Which is why I'm about to call my very decisive witness. Your decisive witness? How many times have I heard those words? Though they often turn out to be far less decisive than you think. Oh, don't worry on my account. I'm quite confident this witness will do the job. After all, he is intimately acquainted with the players in our little production, being the other half of Troop Gramarye's famous duo, Zach and Valent. Valent is going to be a witness? Is that what I'm understanding here? Valent Gramarye. So we get to meet the great Menifee's other disciple. Gorsh. Ah, there he is with his twirling. Perhaps we'll start by asking your name and occupation. Valent Gramarye, magician. And you're the decisive witness, are you? You can prove your fellow student, your partner's guilt? Fate. The grand illusion, filled with traps and tricks. Wait! The shooting took place in that hospital after 11 o'clock that night. If you're a witness, does that mean you were there that late? If one were to deduce this logically, then the conclusion is yes! Okay. I always get the characters, don't I? I have an interesting fact for you. You see, several days before the crime, my witness received this. That looks very familiar. Wait! That's the same letter Zach Gramarye received! Yes! Or perhaps I should say, ta-da! Perhaps you shouldn't. This is a court of law. Order! 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 And what does it say? Surely not the same thing. Perhaps you should see for yourself. To my beloved student Valent, to you I entrust the task of lowering my life's curtain. Come on the 13th, 11:20 p.m. I will ready a gun with which you will shoot one shot square in the forehead. You cannot refuse, and we both know the reason why. Magnifique Gramarye. Why, it's practically the same. The court accepts this into evidence, except for the time difference. Menifee's letter 2 added to the court record. Bugger. This is most unusual. Exactly what was going on with you folks? Let me just check. The other one was 11:05, right? Right. Letter telling Valent to come at 11:20. Okay, good. Okay. Well, not good, but weird. So why would he come earlier? Well, I mean, you were talking for 10 minutes according to Zach, so it's I guess he would come a little earlier. You wouldn't try to arrive directly at 11:20. Well, but if you were trying to avoid nurses. Anyways, exactly what was going on with you folks? What exactly was your Troop Gramarye up to? By which you mean? I'm just having trouble envisioning a man who would ask his students to kill him. Both of them, no less. It's just my opinion, Herr Judge, but from these letters, I'd say he was coercing them, not asking them. We walked the magician's path together, and in so doing shared much of our lives. When people are so close, there is strain, a warping of relations, you might say. Yet this has nothing to do with the case at hand. That's the second time I've heard. By which you mean you're not going to tell us. Which makes me wonder even more about this reason they couldn't refuse. It seems very pertinent to me. Like criminally pertinent. Well, let's get on with the testimony for starters. The defendant, Zach Gramarye, stands accused. Tell us why. I'll do more than that. For where he walks, the red roses rise, singing hymns to the miracle that is magic. Fascinating. Though I hardly need to remind you that the evidence could just as clearly point to you as the evidence could just as clearly point to you as the suspect. The letter, the murder weapon, and now the 2 bullets found at the scene. In fact, the only difference seems to be the designated time. As every magician knows, timing is everything. A man has died. Can we stop with the awful laughter? Yes, and now it's time to get this party fired up. All right. Witness testimony, the night of the crime. That night, I visited the hospital room at the time Magnifee requested. The smell of gunpowder hung in the room, and my mentor had taken his final blow. I did not imagine my fellow student might have received the same instructions. Yet a deal with the dead is still a deal. Death's sweet kiss I gave to the clown. Then I informed the doctor and the police. So you were the one who shot the clown so that you could still follow the shoot the forehead requirement, which is what I said in the last section of this. So you were the one who reported the crime. Indeed. I would think that this fact alone would clear my name of suspicion. Well, it's only testimony that we have. Well, let's not jump to any conclusions. Yes, the cross-examination generally comes before the conclusions in this court. But if your testimony proves to be true, then the defendant, Zach Gramery, is guilty. And if it wasn't Zach Gramery, then the killer was you, Valent. And no disappearing act will get you out of that. This is weird. I never imagined Valent would be... Because he doesn't seem like, oh, I regret to have to report on my fellow, student. I would never imagine he would. He's very much like, he did it! Which is not the relationship I assumed he and Zach had, given how friendly he is with Trucy and stuff. No disappearing act will get you out of that. This is awkward, and it's weird because more or less their situations are basically the same, him and Valent. So the only word we have to go on, sorry, him and Zach. So the only word we had to go on is him saying I got there first and did the clown. Oh, sorry, I got there second and did the clown. That night I visited the hospital room at the time Magnifi requested. Also, this is super weird, because this is one of the few times we see Phoenix in court by himself. He doesn't have anyone to back him up here. I wonder why he's not brought, Maya. The smell of gunpowder hung in the room, and my mentor had taken his final blow. I did not imagine my fellow student might have received the same instructions. That also seems weird to me because if there's some reason why you had to follow his instructions, then you would assume that your partner had the same thing, right? I guess I'm just assuming you would have known about that. Yet a deal with the dead is still a deal. Death's sweet kiss I gave to the clown. Well, you can't kill a toy, but fine. Then I informed the doctor and the police. You informed the doctor while you were standing there with a gun. Is that what I am meant to understand here? Both of Magnifi's students received the same letter. Both admit to having gone to the hospital that night. 2 bullets were fired, and one of them killed Magnifi. Time to find the cracks in his testimony. I think we gotta push on a bit of it. I'll just push on all of it, why not? That time I visited the hospital room at the time Magnifi requested. Hold it! Which, according to the letter, was 11:20 p.m.? Indeed. In magic, timing is everything. Right. Consider the illusion of teleportation. If I were to appear on stage before my stunt double has left, how would that look? Well, I'd reveal the very secrets of my magic, which you also just did by telling us. Now that you've revealed the very secrets of your magic for all of us, let's move on. You went at the designated time, and what did you see? The smell of gunpowder hung in the room, and my mentor had taken his final blow. Hold it! So, you weren't worried for your own safety at all? I mean, you smelled gunpowder, yes? What if the shooter was still nearby? I did not consider this, to be honest. It is forbidden for a magician to have a good imagination. Really? Is magic all about illusions and imagination? How about this? You were the shooter, which is why you weren't afraid. Now you are the one imagining. It is forbidden for a lawyer to have a good imagination. The witness will refrain from pausing so suspiciously before responding. My forbidden imagination is starting to imagine things. Alright, I do not imagine my fellow student might receive the same instructions. Hold it! Which brings us back to this reason neither of you could refuse. So it does, and my partner, he did not refuse. But Magnifi wrote the same thing to you. Why could you refuse if Zach couldn't? Because I have a will of steel! Of course, I also do this trick where I bend steel bars, so perhaps steel isn't also strong. So which is it? Mind if I continue? Not really. Go ahead. Yet a deal with the dead is still a deal. A death's sweet kiss I give to the clown. Hold it! There were 2 bullet holes at the scene. One in the victim and one in the clown. You're saying the one who shot the clown was you. No doubt my partner Zach has said much the same thing. Yeah, because whoever didn't shoot the clown committed the murder. I better dig around here a bit more and see what I turn up. Mr. Valent, let me ask about something else concerning the crime scene. Namely, the number of pistols. That's what I was going to ask. The bullet in the pistol, location of the pistol, the number of pistols. Well, I mean, that's kind of a leading question. If I'm like, how many pistols were there? Well, if he says 2, well, let's ask it. Sure. How many pistols were there when you entered the room? By which you mean what, precisely? 2 pistols were used in the Zach and Valent quick draw shoot-'em, correct? 1 for each of you. You are well informed, yet only one of my old friends sat in the hospital room that night, which is what we understand from Zach said he took it away. What did Zach tell me back in the lobby? Of course, I had no intention of shooting my mentor. I snuck into his room that night at the appointed time, and found there upon his bedside 2 pistols. I took the pistol I had fired and placed it into my pocket. I see no problem with that statement. Only 1 pistol is visible in the photograph of the crime scene, after all. So you picked up that pistol and fired it? Indeed I did. Alakazam, alakazing, alakaboom. Is the number of pistols really so important? I mean, it is, but his corroborates the story is the thing. So, well, it begs the question: if Zach did take the other one, then why wouldn't he at least show me he had it? Because this is the one that Valen allegedly fired. Let me say no for the moment, so I can check on the other points. Actually, let me ask about something else. Very well. The witness may continue with the testimony. What can I do but obey? The bullet in the pistol, the location of the pistol. I don't see why that would be weird. Because by Zach's description, they were both on the table, and that's where we found the one eventually. But if it doesn't line up with Zach's story, I mean, that's something we could check. But let's check about the bullet in the pistol. In order to shoot a pistol, you need a bullet. Where was the bullet? I entered the room, and I took the pistol in my hand. The bullet was already loaded, ready to fire at any time, which is what the letter said, right? A magician is always prepared, you see. Prepared for... One never knows when a miracle will be called for. A magician always has 7 doves in his pocket and a white rabbit up each sleeve. Clearly, we're dealing with professionals here. Is this bullet that was loaded in the pistol really so important? No, I don't think so. No. The location of the pistol, just in case it doesn't line up with what we know. Where exactly was the pistol when you entered the room? Atop a small bedside table, it was. As if to say, here I am. Take me into your hand. Pull my trigger. Shoot him. Wait, bedside? Would you really describe this as bedside table? I guess you could. I would think this is more like a bedside table. This is like hanging over the bed. It's more like a bed desk. The victim clearly wanted to be shot. But why? Perhaps he wanted to go out with a bang? Yet we will never hear the truth from his lips, so all we can do is guess. Is the location of the pistol all that important? No, I don't think so. Alright, let me just push on the last point before I go back and ask him to add the third thing. The thing about the number of pistols. I informed the doctor and the police. Hold it! So you informed the police. What did you do then? What do you suppose I did? I used my magic to levitate my mentor's corpse, perhaps. I don't know, that's why I'm asking. Now please answer the question and skip the sarcasm. After I made my report, I called the doctor and we returned to the room. While we waited for the police to arrive, we discussed stomach medicine. We've confirmed this with the doctor, it all checks out. He praised Mr. Valen's knowledge of stomach medicine, in fact. It is an honor I do not deserve, but I accept. Both of Magnifi's students received this. Oh, right, this is right. Okay, so we gotta add something from that second last testimony. Boink. I think I want to add the number of pistols because that seems. They all seem like a little vaguely relevant because they all seem like slightly off to me. Because with this one, obviously, well, I mean, he couldn't have known. From the thing about this is that this is accurate to what should have been here when he got there, according to what Zach said. Number of pistols is quite important, Your Honor. Very well. Please add this detail to your testimony. What can I do but obey? The thing is, the other two are sort of strange as well, because there's one, the bullet was loaded into the gun already. I guess that's actually the least strange one, because that is what the letter says. It says, I'll have prepared it. Already a gun with which you will shoot one shot. Right, okay. The other one, the location of the gun, I mean, bedside table doesn't seem 100% accurate to me anyways. Only one possible pistol was in the hospital room that night. With it, I shot the clown. Okay, well, according to what we know, that's wrong, but I don't know what evidence exactly suggests that. But also, you should know that's wrong because you know that there were 2 bullets fired, one from the other. Do I put that it could only hold 1 bullet here, maybe? Or do I put one of the letters to say that there were should have been 2 guns because they each had only 1 bullet, or at least another bullet lying beside it? Because obviously, if it only fires 1 bullet, if there was only 1 gun the whole night, then the first one would have been loaded in. And then if we're going by your testimony, then Zach shoots him in the forehead, and you think he loaded the other bullet in there for you. Which doesn't make any sense. So the only other explanation is that there were 2 pistols, which is what we know to be true. I don't know exactly how to contradict that. Let me try you hitting the gun here. Oh, my health went back to full, right, because it's a part 2. Right, because I thought I got something wrong in the first bit. Alright, let's try it. Objection! According to the defendant, Zach Gramarye, when he entered the room, there were 2 pistols on that table. 2! One of those pistols he used to shoot the clown in the forehead, then he left with it in his pocket. Of course, this is what he would say. Unlike the hapless clown, we must assume our defendant has some brains in his head. Well, what about Mr. Valent? What Mr. Valent has told us? You see, there's something about his testimony that doesn't make sense. What might that be? I told you, I took the pistol that was there and shot the clown, but it wouldn't be loaded if Zach was the last person to be there. That's your story, at least. But the rifling marks tell a very different story, Mr. Valent. Recall what Prosecutor Gavin told us. We compared the bullet taken from the victim's skull with a bullet fired from this gun. The rifling marks on the bullets were a perfect match. Oh, with the one that was left here. I don't remember that being said. Hang on, it probably did say that. Oh yeah, it does say that right here. Right, so that wouldn't make sense if this was the gun you fired and left at the scene. Mr. Valent, if you fired this pistol, then you shot the victim in the forehead. This is a very strange thing, too, because we know that Valent doesn't get committed for murder because he's up and about in the present day, but it's also strange because I was under the impression that Phoenix won this case using forged evidence, and that's why he lost his badge. Or maybe he didn't win the case. Maybe he lost the case because someone found out it was forged evidence in the middle. I'm not sure. Trucy didn't say that Zach got committed to hospital. They said he disappeared, which made it sound like it was kind of unexpected and out of nowhere. So there's a lot of weirdness going on here with this. I don't really know how this is going to turn out exactly. Order! 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 Well, this is all rather sudden. What? What have I done? Prosecutor Gavin? I owe the court an apology. Sorry. Sorry for what? You see, I was unaware that 2 of these unique pistols were crafted. The analysis of the rifling marks only proved the type of gun that fired them, right? That's what you just said, but earlier you said that they matched it perfectly. But that's not what you told us before. You said you'd verify the murder weapon. Which is why I'm apologizing to you now, quite sincerely I might add. Would you hold me accountable for a mistake made in my youth? What, in court? Yeah. That was just this morning. I am still young. And I might add, it wasn't really my fault. If the defendant had only admitted he took 1 pistol from the scene of the crime, we would not be having this pleasant discussion now. You said you verified it though, and then you were wrong. Valent Gramarye? Yes, Your Honor. You were presented to this court as a decisive witness, but you've proven to be more divisive than decisive. Nice one. I like the wordplay there. Objection what? Objection nothing. You'll see, in time. Time is something we're short on. We only got 3 days, bucko. The testimony so far has merely been a review of the facts. The proof comes next. Still waiting on it. Care to elaborate, Prosecutor Gavin? When Mr. Valent entered the hospital room, the victim had already been shot, as his next testimony will prove. Herr Wright, the real fight is about to begin. Bring it. Very well. The witness will now testify to the court. Help us determine who shot what. Please, who shot what? Next testimony. Let's get it going. I don't know where my mouse is. There we go. Let's get it going. I arrived in the hospital room at the appointed time, which is to say 11:20 p.m. Tempo's picking up. After discovering the body, I fulfilled my obligation, then called in the doctor. The doctor examined the body before the police arrived. He was quite clear about the time of death, 11:10 p.m. And the one in the room at that time was my partner, not me. Interesting. Those times are rather close, you have to admit. You're talking about an alibi established over a matter of minutes. To use a 10-minute discrepancy as the basis of your alibi. It's easy to explain in this situation, Herr Judge. For example, take our debut hit single, 13 Years Hard Time for Love. Cue to the song, press the play button, and it will play for 2 minutes, 15 seconds. Do it 100 times, the result is the same. Their debut single was only 2 minutes and 15 seconds long? What a ripoff. Magic is a world of utmost precision. Hocus Pocus requires admirable focus. Don't bash short songs, Phoenix. Sometimes it's you get it all out in that time. It doesn't need to go any longer. And in the time of death determined by the doctor, there is an incontrovertible truth. Very well. The prosecution warns us that we're dealing with rather precise times, and we can expect the cross-examination to require the same level of precision. I would hope the defense refrains from its customarily broad, sweeping accusations, lest we blur the focus this case so clearly demands. Point taken. Baseless remarks will result in a penalty. Carry on, Mr. Wright. Carry on. Right. Ugh. Seems like they're going to be penalizing us more than I would want. Who shot what? I arrived in the hospital room at the appointed time, which is to say 11:20 p.m. After discovering the body, I fulfilled my obligation, then called in the doctor. The doctor examined the body before the police arrived. He was quite clear about the time of death, 11:10 p.m. And the one in the room at that time was my partner, not me. An alibi over a matter of minutes. Precise is right. And pressing with impunity will earn me a nice penalty, too. Better focus on one thing, this time of death. Right. The doctor examined the body before the police arrived. He was quite clear about the time of death, 11:10 p.m. This I'm interested in. Hold it! I don't think I'm stepping out on a limb here to say I have some doubts about this. How could the doctor be so precise with the time? We do usually only get an estimated time of death, true, and that's from a full autopsy, not just a random doctor being like, I think... I'm not sure I've heard of a verified time of death. Magic revels in making the complex appear simple, but reality is the opposite. What appears complex, in this case, is a simple matter of subtraction. I see another person has done their arithmetic homework. The point here is the IV the victim was taking. It's quite visible in the photograph on the scene. not in his arm. Recall what we heard earlier about the victim Magnifique Gremory's schedule? Every night at 11, Magnifique took an IV drip for 30 minutes. I can see the IV bag right there. Yes, so it's only a third empty, is that what you're saying? Now look a little closer. Follow the tube down from the bag to the end. Ugh! The needle's been removed! Doubtlessly, it fell out when he was shot. What? That would seem to be the case. When the needle comes out, the IV no longer drips. Ah! You could just measure the remaining IV liquid. Precisely. The IV liquid functions, for our purposes, as an hourglass of sorts. This is how the doctor determined the time of death. From the amount remaining in the bag, it was determined that the IV had stopped 10 minutes after administration began. Right, okay, this is the IV report. And so it was. When I, Valent, entered that room, 10 minutes had passed since that horrible crime was committed. Interesting. And this is proof. Well, Mr. Wright? Did that seem important? I mean, it's sort of weird that the autopsy report had an estimated time of death if they had confirmed it with the doctor prior. I think it's important, I mean, if nothing else, because I got another piece of evidence from it. IV stopped 10 minutes after administration began. 30 minutes required to administer full IV. From the amount remaining, IV stopped 10 minutes after the administration began. So you think he got there for 5 minutes, got there at 11:05, stayed there for 5 minutes and then shot him and left, is what you think. Okay, this insulin needle is still pretty weird. Let me have a look at the photograph again. I mean, personally, I don't really buy that he got shot and then that thing just went flying out of his arm, all the way onto the side beside him. I mean, I guess you would like twitch if you got shot, but like, how did it get there? I'll say that's important. Very important. Well, seeing how it is the biggest clues we have to the time of death, I'd say it's very important. Agreed. It would be hard to imagine a more precise way to determine the time. Behold the power of arithmetic. Very well. The witness will add this detail to his testimony. Sometimes the most magical thing of all is the truth. Wow. The water of life springs not eternal. The remaining IV liquid proves my innocence. Hold it! Hold it! Did you notice the IV yourself by any chance? When first I entered that room, the stench of gunpowder assailed me. Next, the mark of death upon my mentor's forehead. And then, his left arm did I spy a rose drooping and wilted, its thorn the discarded IV needle. Not from the vein by the force of the shot, luckily for you. If that IV had not been there, why, you might be a suspect. Indubitably so. I might say it's thanks to my lucky color. Your lucky color? Indeed, even today I wear it proudly upon my suspect self, for it always, without fail, brings me luck. Why, when Zack and Valent won their first Magician's Grand Prix, yes, the very one held by the Association of International Magicians, I was adorned in this attire then too, and our trophy, a bust. Ah, what a day that was. This is one trip down memory lane that no one needs. My lucky color, yes indeed, and that IV too. I think 'twas huge, especially for me, Valent. For me, Valent. That does seem to be the case indeed. Well, Mr. Wright, any thoughts on this testimony? What? You thought the stuff inside the IV bag was yellow? Valent sure looks happy with himself. Okay, how about this lucky color testimony? There's a contradiction, it's green. It certainly sounds like your lucky color has brought you plenty of luck, but not this time. Mr. Valent, your lucky color has betrayed you. I'm afraid you've lost me. Your Honor, the witness's testimony just now clearly contradicts the evidence. What? Please recall my warning at the beginning of this cross-examination, Mr. Wright. Baseless accusations will be duly penalized. I do hope this latest accusation is well-based. Don't worry, I've got all your bases right here. Very well. Let's hear the defense's claim. Where is your evidence that contradicts what Mr. Valent has told us? All your bases belong to us. Take that! Your crime scene tells it all, Your Honor. A photo of the crime scene. All this talk of color has me yearning for black and white, clear-cut simplicity. Tell us here, Wright. Just where is the contradiction in this photo? I'll tell you. My pleasure. And I assure you, it's quite simple. But I can't promise anything in black and white. More like green and yellow. Let's hear what Mr. Wright has to say. What in this photo contradicts the witness's testimony? Beep! Take that! That was not very Phoenix, right? Take that! Take that! It's hard to do. Valent Gremory, let's get one thing straight about your lucky color. It's yellow, yes? Kind of takes the mystery out of it, but yes. Something wrong with yellow, Mr. Wright? Yes, there is. Decisively wrong, in fact. Take another look at the photo of the crime scene. They're just gonna be like, it was dark, he couldn't see the color. What's this? Confusion, doubt. Tell us, what do your elderly eyes spy? Even my elderly eyes can see a problem here, Mr. Valent. Look at that IV bag. Ah, what is this? What foul magic? It would be hard to call that IV liquid yellow. And I'm afraid no magic was involved in the taking of this photograph. As far as I know. Alakazoo! No! It really does have bunnies and doves around him. Bunny in each sleeve. I didn't count the number of doves, though. Order! 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 What does this mean? This is some kind of mistake. Yes, Prosecutor Gavin, your witness's mistake. Greener they are, the harder they fall. I suppose there's no substitute for experience. Valen Gramarye, as you reminded us several times, your lucky color is yellow, but the IV is clearly not. Well, this contradiction can mean only one thing. Well, no, it can mean a few things. And to think, you almost had me. I see your true colors now, Ace Attorney Phoenix Wright. Something you'd like to tell us, Prosecutor Gavin? As far as this court can tell, the witness's testimony does contradict the evidence. Yes, a contradiction. One that I shall be pleased to hand right back to Mr. Wright. How do you mean? How? Because the witness has made no mistakes. I agree, at a glance, the IV liquid does appear sort of greenish yellow. But it's green, don't try and twist the words. But I assure you, the liquid itself is quite yellow. Oh, because of the bag? Blue and yellow makes green, is that what you're gonna tell me? Yellow liquid? How can you say that? As far as I can tell from this photo, it's green. Yes, but what color is the IV bag itself? The bag? You mean the plastic bag on the hook? It looks like I want to say light blue? Precisely. Figured it out yet? Put a yellow liquid in a blue bag and you get green. This, incidentally, is the liquid's true color. I see. Okay, it doesn't really look like that in the photo, but it does in the little picture. Your explanation now does have a ring of truth to it. Okay, but you think he looked at the blue bag and thought it was yellow? Objection! As I thought. There's no substitute for experience, Prosecutor Gavin. What? You may tell a good tale, but you've just proven something rather grave. For you, that is. Grave. The liquid in the IV is yellow, yes. But how did this witness know that? It's quite unnatural when you think about it. You did think about it, didn't you? Your Honor, the defense requests an explanation from the witness. At the scene of the crime, the IV liquid appears to be green. So let me ask, how did the witness know the IV liquid was actually yellow? Alakazoo, my god! That's perfect. Order! 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 Mr. Wright, you will explain this at once. The witness clearly knew of the color of the IV liquid, so I'm sure it means something, but what? I can think of only one possibility, Your Honor. The witness, Valen Gramarye, was the one who took it off. Has testified that the IV liquid was yellow because it looked yellow. He'd seen it before. He knew the IV liquid's color. Okay, I'm guessing not he'd seen it before, because that wouldn't have anything to do with the case. He knew the IV liquid's color because he took it out, I'm guessing? From the facts before us, the answer is clear. The witness knew that the IV liquid was yellow. Why? Because he'd seen it before. But not inside the blue bag we see in the photo. He saw the liquid by itself, in a clear, colorless bag. I suppose he would have had to, but I'm still not clear as to what all this means. Ask yourself, why would he know if he didn't work at a hospital? Maybe if he swapped it out himself to one that would make sense for the crime. That's where you'll find your meaning, Your Honor. Yeah? I'm afraid I find nothing. So what if he knew the IV liquid's color? Leave the getting excited over absolutely nothing to our teeny boo popper fans, yeah? The IV liquid is the only evidence proving the time of death, a 30-minute hourglass with 20 minutes worth of sand remaining. Your claim, Prosecutor Gavin. I remember it well. However, there's a critical difference between an hourglass and an IV bag. Wait, I know. An hourglass uses sand, but an IV bag uses liquid. I'm right? As much as it pains me to say this, Your Honor, no. Unlike the sands through an hourglass, the IV liquid enters the patient's body, at which point, like magic, it disappears. However, what if the amount of IV liquid had increased? You couldn't tell, could you? After all, there's no way of knowing how much went in. Objection. Let me get this straight here, Wright. You're saying the witness watered down the victim's IV bag. Not with water, but with IV liquid. That's how you knew the IV liquid was yellow. Now wait, I said wait! How might an amateur such as myself essay to perform such a task? Objection! I'm an amateur too, but I can pour water into a cup. Push! I'm afraid there's quite a big difference between a cup and an IV bag. Quite. Can you prove our witness is capable of such a feat? He has a point, amateurs. I, at least, would have some difficulty pouring IV liquid into that bag. You don't need to be an expert to see the look on the witness's face. He added liquid to that IV to throw off the amount to the time of death. I tire of these fairy tales lacking evidence. Well, Mr. Wright, any solid evidence to bring us down back to Earth? Valen Cramery, I'm afraid your magic won't serve you well in a life of crime. Might I ask what you're strongly suggesting? Magic relies on props, and props become evidence. Our witness was certainly able to increase the amount of IV liquid in the bag. All he had to do was work a little magic. And the prop was, oh, is he going to say the syringe? But it said it hasn't been used. I mean, that's the only thing on the scene of the crime that I could imagine would be it, right? I mean, I suppose if he altered the amount of time, then he would have a good 5 minutes or whatever to wash it. There should be a sink or something in that room, right? That's the only evidence I can think. Let's go for it. Take that! The victim's syringe. It's the perfect prop for the magically increasing IV trick, and easy enough for an amateur to use. Although, wouldn't that leave like a tiny hole in the bag? I guess if you put it in the top, then you wouldn't notice. What kind of evidence is that? The syringe was clean. No trace of liquid in it. Objection! And don't you find that odd, Prosecutor Gavin? What? The victim had the syringe to administer his insulin shots. There should have been traces of insulin left inside. Well, Valen Cramery, as you pointed out yourself, the IV liquid makes the perfect clock. One that you could manipulate at will. Alakazar! Bye, doves. I wonder if the total number of doves he releases over the whole time is eventually adds up to however many he said, 70 or whatever, or 77. I do believe, well, with this being his first, that the burden of this trial has been a bit too much to bear for Prosecutor Gavin. Alright, well don't be an asshole, you're gonna make him mad and he's gonna start going crazy. I'm afraid that while there is a doubt as to the amount of IV liquid in that bag, the time of death cannot be proven, and that brings our trial to a close for today. Well, maybe I can squeeze an extra day out of this. I can do a little much-needed investigation work. I see there are no objections. Court is adjourned. Uh-oh. Something tells me we're not going to get that investigation day we wanted. Truly, there's no substitute for experience. Nothing blinds one to the truth so effectively. A word to the wise. Underestimate the young and they'll sweep your feet out from under you. You're not that much younger than me. I'm 24 at this point, and how old are you? You're 17? Good God. I guess that makes sense, though. This is 7 years prior to when he was 24. God damn, it's pretty built for 17. Underestimate the young and they'll sweep your feet out from under you. In a way you never, ever expected. You see, I know exactly what you're thinking. What's he talking about? You say the witness used the syringe to manipulate the level of the IV liquid, but there is no proof. There's no proof he didn't do it either. Yes, quite true. Huh? He's admitting to it? Nor was this witness quite as decisive as I'd hoped. This I admit. After all, why linger in the past when the future holds so much? You have something in mind, Prosecutor Gavin? Proof, Herr Judge. I have another way to prove my case. With evidence, no less. A diary. Watch this. This is the victim, Magnifique Gramarie's diary. Diary? After going into the hospital, Magnifique began writing his memoirs, it seems. The story of his birth, his startling debut, and of meeting his disciples. It seems he intended for the last chapter to end, quite appropriately, with his death. Wait. That book doesn't say what the reason was, does it? The reason why his disciples couldn't refuse his last request. Sadly, it does not. What's important here is on the last page. Apparently, the victim wrote his in his journal that night, even after the IV had begun at 11 p.m. Let's read it, shall we? Tonight's IV is in, maybe the last. I leave the rest of them. The first should come soon. This journal may end here, or it may go on, but not long. That depends on his hand. All that is left to mine is to lay down this pen. And then there's a torn out page here, which we think is this one, but we obviously know from the future that something is forged here. It seems fate's clock will make me wait a little longer. At last, only less than 10 swift minutes remain. To all those who have supported me in my life's work, I give thanks. Farewell. This note does appear to have been written just before his death. The court accepts this into evidence. Magnifique's diary added to the court record. Interesting. Read the very last part with particular care. This journal may end here, or it may go on, but not long. That depends on his hand. Of course, by his, he refers to our defendant, Zach Marie. It'll either end there, if Zach comes and shoots him, or it'll go on for about 10 minutes if Zach doesn't have the guts, is what he's saying, I think. He refers to our defendant, Zach Marie. That would make sense, yes. He was the first scheduled visitor after all, and if this is the forged evidence, then that would explain how it was used for Phoenix's advantage. wrongly. Yeesh. I think I see where this is going. I'm gonna say that this was here so that because the fact that it continued going for 10 minutes after that meant that Zach didn't do it. It was the first scheduled visitor after all. But look at what he said before that. This journal may end here, or it may go on. It may go on. Manny Gremery intended to write again. That is, if Zach Gremery didn't pull the trigger. I see the defense understands the meaning of this. The victim's diary does not go on, it ends. Because Manifee's life was brought to an end by the defendant, Zach Gremery. And here's where I put my diary page here and say, na. Order! 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 Prosecutor Gavin, are you certain that Manifee Gremery wrote this? There is no mistaking his handwriting. Well, unless his daughter forged it. Drew's daughter. Well, this does seem to be significant. According to this, Manifee did intend to continue his diary. Yet if his diary ended here, which plainly it did, then the one who pulled the trigger was the first visitor, Zach Gremery. Well, how do you like me now, Hair Riot? Still too green for your tastes? He's right about the diary being pretty clear. Still, I find it hard to believe that he'd overlook such an obvious problem with his precious evidence that there's a page torn out. Well, Mr. Wright, the witness's testimony we heard was lacking, but put together with this evidence, it seems quite sufficient for a case. If the diary is accepted like this, the trial's over. Maybe it's time for me to show them something. Show evidence. Bush! Bam! I'm left with no choice but to show my own evidence. Oh, every time I see him do this now, I watched the Ace Attorney movie the other day, and I'm expecting, like, screens to pop up when he slams his hands like that. Oh, the movie was so great. Very weird, but good. It like took the darker aspects and magnified them, so it was telling a darker story through a goofy lens as opposed to telling a, well, actually, it was more like it told a goofier story through a darker lens, whereas this one's more like telling a slightly dark story through a goofy lens. So it was cool the way the movie did that. Anyways, enough about the movie. What? You have some evidence that overturns this diary. It's not too late to rethink this and avoid more embarrassment. Very well. Please show us your evidence, Mr. Wright. Well, no wonder he's confident, because obviously this is forged, we think. Incidentally, don't even think of showing us this diary I've just shown to the court. Now that we've come this far, I'd hope you have something a little more decisive. Show us evidence that proves the victim continued writing his diary. Okay. But actually, wasn't it the entire diary that was forged? Which would explain why the page was ripped. Because if the page was ripped out in the actual diary and that wasn't forged, then that's actual legit, not forged evidence. But the fact that it was ripped out of this one that we think was forged, that would also lead to this being fake. Unless it was just this page that was forged. Anyways, we'll see all that in time, I'm sure. All right? I'd be happy to. The decisive evidence proving that the diary didn't end with this page is, if I put the diary, what do you think happens? Do you think he's just like, here, I just asked, god damn it. No, a page. Take that! First, take a close look at this diary. Note that a page has been clearly ripped out. What's this? I hadn't noticed that at all. That's why we're still here talking about this. As it just so happens, I have here what I believe to be the missing page. Annika, I don't believe it! Looking at this page, it's hard to imagine that the first visitor that night shot Manifee Gremery. That's the defense's position. Wait, let me see that. Only less than 10 swift minutes remain. How could he have written that if Dude Man was already there? What in Sam Hill? Why, this is the continuation of the victim's diary. And the end, in fact, where he signs off. Yes, you can all stop gawking now because this is making me very tense. Note the torn edge of the page. It's a perfect match with the torn remains of the last page in Manifee's diary. Quite remarkable. Would you care to explain what all this means, Herr Attorney? The diary continued after his first visitor came, which means that the victim was still alive after Zach Gremery left, and for 10 minutes or so he claims, leaving no one to take his life but the second visitor. Push. Phelan Gremery! No. No! Yes, the handwriting too matches that on the other pages. This is without a doubt the genuine article. Yeah, I wish he hadn't said that. Order! 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 But wait, that's impossible! That old man couldn't have written that. Dursh. Why was that objection on a black screen? That's new. Oh, he's waiting for a long time. Finally. You just couldn't resist, could you, Herr Wright? Resist what? Presenting solid evidence? Herr Judge? Yes, Prosecutor Gavin. Might I request we put the current cross-examination on hold? He definitely knows this has been forged. The prosecution would like to call a new witness. But Prosecutor Gavin, this evidence overturns the current witnesses. I ask only to put it on hold. Please. My new witness has a very, very important piece of testimony to give. 5 minutes. No more. I promise, Your Honor. Well, if you put it that way, Mr. Wright, what's your take on this? Well, Your Honor, judging from his enthusiasm, we'll have to hear this new testimony sooner or later anyway. So it might as well be sooner. Good man, good idea. Then though this is highly, highly irregular, we will put the current cross-examination on hold. The witness may step down. That's where this episode will also step down. Gosh! Oh, this is so much stress. I'm guessing this isn't going to go on for very much longer, this flashback. This is going to quickly evolve into, it was forged, I can prove it, I'm a forger. It's going to be Drew or Vera on the stand, is what I'm guessing. And then that's just going to be, this trial's going to end in a loss for Phoenix. And that would, I guess, explain, but then that would have to mean that Zach is imprisoned. And they didn't seem to suggest that, maybe Phoenix just hid that from Trucy because he didn't want her to know that. Maybe that's what he meant when he said that Zach disappeared. I don't know. I guess we'll see. This is a really cool flashback sequence. I don't want to like put competition to this, but I'm curious because I also really loved the flashback sequence in the third game where, spoilers for the third game, I guess. I'm like debating whether this is, because they've led so much up to this bit where Phoenix lost his badge. So I'm debating whether getting to see the story of how Phoenix lost his badge was cooler. They're both really damn cool, but I'm curious about what you think if you have any opinions on that. But I really want to keep going, but dang, I'm out of time. So shoot. Next time, though, all will be revealed. Well, maybe not, but we'll probably get to the end of the flashback sequence, I figure. It feels like we're getting rather close to that. So with that, I thank you very much for coming around, and hopefully I will see you in the next one, or in a different one. Hopefully I will see you around. Admiral's gonna be out of here. Peace. Let me follow you out there, buddy, because I'm not sure where this goes out to, but I think it might be a place I want to go out to. If I get seen immediately, I'm gonna be furious. Okay. We don't want to go that way. I think we're probably going to want to go up. There was like one area a little higher up that we didn't. Oh, actually, is there any stuff in this person's cell?